In a week marked by significant political maneuvering, former President Donald Trump has once again taken center stage, orchestrating two major deals that underscore his transactional approach to governance. As the political landscape shifts, Trump's ability to extract concessions from both domestic allies and international partners is on full display, raising questions about the implications for U.S. policy and the Republican Party's identity. The first deal emerged from the halls of Congress, where Trump sought to advance key components of his 2016 campaign platform through a budget resolution. As White House correspondent Maggie Haberman noted, Trump's focus has shifted from executive actions, often seen as his administration's hallmark, to negotiating a legislative bill that reflects his promises, particularly regarding tax cuts. This legislative push included extending the 2017 tax cuts and eliminating various taxes, a move that has sparked contention among House Republicans who also prioritize spending cuts. Katie Edmondson, another correspondent, elaborated that while many Republicans were amenable to tax cuts, there were significant concerns about the potential impact on federal spending, particularly regarding programs like Medicaid and Medicare. The budget resolution laid out an ambitious goal of achieving $880 billion in cuts over the next decade. The balancing act was fraught with peril, as Speaker Johnson faced pushback from both ultra-conservative and moderate factions within the party, with some lawmakers expressing fears that the resolution could increase the deficit. Interestingly, it was Trump's direct intervention that ultimately swayed a critical vote. Reports indicated that Trump personally pressured Republican Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, among others, leading to a narrow passage of the resolution by a vote of 217 to 215. This dynamic illustrates the power Trump still wields over the Republican Party, as even those lawmakers who traditionally emphasize fiscal conservatism found themselves bending to his will. The implications of this budget deal could reverberate through the next election cycle, especially if cuts to essential programs become a focal point for Democratic campaigns. The second deal, meanwhile, shifts the focus to the international arena, specifically Trump's evolving relationship with Ukraine. Discussions have progressed from theoretical musings about restructuring U.S. aid to more concrete negotiations. Zolan Kanoyans highlighted that Trump's approach has been fundamentally transactional, seeking to recoup U.S. financial assistance to Ukraine in exchange for access to the country's critical earth minerals. However, this has raised eyebrows, as it places Ukraine in a precarious position, lacking the security assurances that would typically accompany such aid. Trump's negotiations appear to signal a departure from traditional Republican foreign policy, which has historically emphasized support for Ukraine against Russian aggression. Instead, under Trump, Ukraine is portrayed as having limited leverage, with the U.S. extracting benefits without committing to long-term security guarantees. As Katie Edmondson noted, this shift reflects a broader ideological evolution within the Republican Party, where anti-interventionist sentiments are now prevalent among leadership, potentially sidelining traditional hawks who advocate for a more robust U.S. presence abroad. This week's developments also underline a broader trend of global leaders adjusting their strategies in response to Trump's unique brand of diplomacy. Whether it's European allies increasing defense spending or leaders like Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky adapting to a more transactional U.S. position, the international landscape is shifting in ways that prioritize immediate concessions over long-standing alliances or commitments. As Trump continues to navigate both domestic and international waters, the outcomes of these deals will likely influence the Republican Party's direction and the U.S.'s role on the global stage. The repercussions of a budget resolution that could lead to cuts in programs like Medicaid and a foreign policy that prioritizes American financial interests over traditional alliances will be closely scrutinized in the coming months. Looking ahead, the future of Trump's influence within the party and his approach to governance will be pivotal as the 2024 elections approach. As he continues to assert his dominance, the implications for both policy and party identity remain profound, challenging conventional narratives and prompting a re-evaluation of what it means to be a Republican in the current political climate. In a significant shakeup at The Washington Post. Owner Jeff Bezos has announced a radical overhaul of the newspaper's opinion pages that has led to a wave of subscriber cancellations. The changes, which prioritize libertarian perspectives while sidelining opposing views, have already resulted in the loss of over 75,000 digital subscriptions since the announcement on February 28, 2025. This latest development has reignited a contentious debate about the influence of ownership on journalistic integrity. The immediate aftermath of Bezos's announcement saw the resignation of Opinion's editor David Shipley, who reportedly attempted to dissuade Bezos from implementing his plans. Shipley's departure underscores the internal discord surrounding the decision, which has drawn criticism from notable figures within the Post, including associate editor David Moranis and former executive editor Marty Baron. Baron characterized Bezos's approach as craven, suggesting that it reflects a fear of political backlash, particularly from former President Donald Trump. The wave of cancellations is particularly alarming given that this is not the first instance of mass subscriber loss at the Post under Bezos's ownership. Following a controversial decision to withdraw a planned endorsement of Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris just days before the 2024 election, the newspaper saw more than 300,000 subscribers depart, translating to a staggering 12% decline in its digital subscriber base. Although the Post has made efforts to attract new subscribers, reportedly adding 400,000 at discounted rates, the net loss remains significant, with internal estimates suggesting a drop of around 200,000 subscribers. Historically, under Bezos's ownership, the Washington Post has positioned itself as a bastion of accountability journalism, famously adopting the motto, "Democracy dies in darkness." However, Bezos's recent memo suggested a departure from this ethos, emphasizing a reorientation of the opinion section in support of personal liberties and free markets. He stated viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others, a declaration that many in the newsroom interpreted as a troubling signal about the future of diverse editorial discourse at the paper. The editorial staff's apprehension was palpable following the announcement, prompting executive editor Matt Murray to reassure them that there was no intention to interfere with news coverage, which he insisted would continue without fear or favor. This remark reflects a broader concern among staff regarding the potential for Bezos's business interests to complicate journalistic integrity, especially in light of his substantial contracts with the federal government through Amazon and Blue Origin. Bezos's motivations seem to be driven by a desire to regain public trust, as he acknowledged in his earlier writings about media bias. Yet, his actions, including donations to Trump's inauguration fund and close ties with the former president, have raised questions about the sincerity of his commitment to unbiased journalism. The fallout from these internal changes has not gone unnoticed by competitors. The Guardian, for instance, has leveraged the situation by emphasizing its independence from billionaire ownership and fundraising appeals. As the landscape of media ownership continues to evolve, the implications of Bezos's decisions at the Washington Post are profound, not only for the paper's future but also for the industry as a whole. With subscriber trust wavering and editorial independence in question, the repercussions of this controversy may shape the Post's trajectory for years to come. As the situation develops, industry watchers will be keen to observe how Bezos balances his business interests with the journalistic mission of one of the country's leading newspapers. In a significant policy shift, President Donald Trump is set to sign an executive order declaring English the official language of the United States. This move, which aims to streamline government operations and reinforce national unity, has sparked a variety of reactions across the political spectrum and among the general public. Advocates argue that this decision is a step towards preserving American cultural identity, while critics warn it could marginalize non-English speakers and exacerbate societal divides. The executive order is expected to be enacted on February 29, 2025, and will require all federal agencies to conduct business in English. According to the White House, this initiative is designed to enhance communication within government services, streamline processes, and ensure that all citizens can easily access information and assistance. This is about ensuring that every American can communicate effectively with their government, a senior administration official stated. It's about unity and making sure that our resources are available to everyone in a language they understand. However, the implications of such a decision are multifaceted. While proponents celebrate the move as a reaffirmation of American values, opponents argue that it could alienate millions of residents who speak a variety of languages. The United States is home to a diverse population with over 350 languages spoken according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Critics fear that this policy could lead to discrimination against non-English speakers, limiting their access to essential services and undermining the multicultural fabric of the nation. In related economic news, the stock market showed signs of resilience amid varying trends in major sectors. On February 28, 2025, the Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed by 250 points, buoyed by positive earnings reports from several large corporations. Despite this uptick, cryptocurrency markets faced turbulence, with Bitcoin prices experiencing a notable decline. Analysts attribute this volatility to ongoing regulatory scrutiny and market corrections following a period of rapid growth. Furthermore, a recent report indicates that a significant portion of revenue for certain firms is heavily reliant on government contracts, raising questions about the sustainability of their business models. One company, which derives 98% of its income from U.S. government contracts, has come under scrutiny as market dynamics shift with the rise of cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin. As these digital currencies gain traction, traditional firms may need to adapt or risk obsolescence in an increasingly digital economy. As the administration moves forward with its language policy and the economic landscape evolves, the interaction between government initiatives and market forces will continue to shape the American experience. Observers will be watching closely to gauge the reactions of both the public and the business community, as well as any potential legislative responses that may arise from this executive order. Looking ahead, the implications of making English the official language could resonate far beyond government operations, influencing social dynamics and public discourse. Additionally, as cryptocurrencies gain prominence, the intersection of traditional business practices and digital innovation will likely redefine economic strategies in the years to come. The unfolding narrative promises to be a significant chapter in the ongoing dialogue about identity governance and the future of commerce in the United States. In a startling revelation, Citigroup has disclosed a monumental error in its internal transaction processes, where a client account was erroneously credited with a staggering $81 trillion instead of the intended $280. This incident, which occurred last April, is being referred to as a near miss and raises serious questions about the effectiveness of the bank's operational controls and its ongoing efforts to rectify long-standing issues. The error was the result of a miscommunication among Citigroup employees. An internal report which has now come to light indicates that both a payments employee and a secondary official responsible for checking the transaction failed to catch the mistake prior to its approval for processing. The mishap went unnoticed until a third employee identified discrepancies in the bank's account balances, catching the error approximately 90 minutes after it was posted. The bank was able to reverse the erroneous transaction several hours later, and crucially, no funds were disbursed from Citigroup. Citigroup has since reported this incident to both the Federal Reserve and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. A spokesperson for the bank stated, "Our detective controls promptly identified the inputting error between two Citi ledger accounts and we reversed the entry," adding that the mechanisms in place would have prevented any funds from leaving the institution. Despite the lack of external impact, the incident underscores the bank's ongoing struggle with operational reliability. Last year alone, Citigroup experienced a total of 10 near misses involving transactions of $1 billion or more, a slight decrease from the previous year's count of 13. However, such high-value near misses are considered rare within the broader U.S. banking industry. As noted, highlighting the complexities involved in reforming the bank's operational framework. The incident also raises important questions about the adequacy of reporting standards for near misses in the banking sector. Since these events do not typically require regulatory disclosure, there remains a lack of comprehensive data on their frequency across the industry. This gap leaves stakeholders and regulators in the dark about the potential risks associated with such operational failures. As Citigroup continues to navigate these turbulent waters, the bank's future operations depend on its ability to enhance automation and eliminate reliance on manual processes that have proven to be error-prone. The implications of this incident extend beyond internal policies. They could influence investor confidence and regulatory perceptions as the bank strives to demonstrate it can manage its operational challenges effectively. As the situation evolves, it will be crucial to monitor how Citigroup responds and whether it can emerge from this cycle of operational mishaps with a more robust and reliable system. In a poignant exploration of grief and emotional vulnerability, a recent letter addressed to relationship expert Annalisa Barbieri highlights the complex challenges faced by couples when one partner is unable to process their unresolved grief. The letter, which tells the story of a partner grappling with the profound loss of their father over a decade ago, underscores how such emotional struggles can strain a relationship over time. The writer expresses concern that their partner's avoidance of sadness and vulnerability is not only impacting their emotional health but also the couple's future together. The letter paints a vivid picture of a partner who, having lost their idolized father as a teenager, continues to grapple with unresolved feelings of anger and sadness. The writer recounts a recent incident where a deeply emotional movie triggered an outburst from their partner, who insisted on avoiding any media that might evoke sadness again. This reaction is symptomatic of a broader pattern observed in many individuals dealing with grief, where the instinct to protect oneself from painful emotions leads to emotional isolation and disconnection. Annalisa Barbieri, addressing the letter, emphasizes the importance of embracing all emotions, including sadness, as part of the human experience. She cites psychotherapist John Paul Davies, who notes that humans are not designed solely for happiness but for survival, and that true emotional intimacy requires confronting difficult feelings. Humans are not like fuse boxes, you can't isolate one switch, Davies explains, highlighting the interconnectedness of emotions. Avoiding sadness can lead to a numbing of all feelings, including joy and love, ultimately diminishing the capacity for deep emotional connections. Individuals must also safeguard their own emotional well-being. The journey towards emotional health is not linear and often requires both partners to be willing to engage with difficult feelings. As society continues to navigate the complexities of grief and emotional health, the lessons from this correspondence resonate widely. They remind us of the necessity of embracing vulnerability, not just for personal healing but for fostering deeper connections with those we love. Moving forward, it will be crucial for couples like the one in the letter to seek balance, understanding, and professional support as they navigate the intricate dance of love, loss, and emotional growth. In a dramatic turn of events in Washington, tensions escalated between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a highly publicized Oval Office meeting on February 28, 2025. What was intended to be a diplomatic discussion on potential economic partnerships quickly devolved into a heated confrontation that has left both U.S.-Ukraine relations and a proposed minerals deal hanging in the balance. The meeting, which commenced with high hopes, aimed to solidify a strategic partnership over Ukraine's vast mineral resources. Zelensky, who arrived with aspirations of finalizing a significant agreement, left the White House empty-handed after an explosive exchange with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Notably, Trump accused Zelensky of failing to express adequate gratitude for U.S. support in Ukraine's ongoing war against Russia, leading to an argument that was characterized by sharp rhetoric and mutual accusations. Trump's assertion that Zelensky had overplayed his hand and was not ready for peace marked a significant departure from earlier diplomatic engagements between the two leaders. As he prepared to leave the White House for his Mar-a-Lago residence, Trump emphasized to reporters that Zelensky's combative stance was counterproductive, stating, "You're gambling with the lives of millions of people." The U.S. president's comments reflected a growing frustration with Ukraine's leadership, which has increasingly been seen as demanding while struggling to secure a decisive victory against Russian forces. The fallout from the meeting has been swift. Democratic governors in the U.S. have urged Trump to maintain support for Ukraine. emphasizing the importance of upholding democratic values amidst the ongoing conflict. Americans must protect our strong democratic values on the world stage instead of undermining President Zelensky's work to fight for his nation, read a statement from a coalition of 14 Democratic governors. Meanwhile, Zelensky's planned address at the Hudson Institute was abruptly cancelled, further indicating the gravity of the situation. International reactions have also been telling. Prominent figures including Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni reaffirmed their support for Ukraine in the wake of the tense meeting. Trudeau underscored the necessity of continued aid to Ukraine, stating, "Their fight for democracy, freedom and sovereignty is a fight that matters to us all." Additionally, influential European leaders expressed concern over the deteriorating dynamics between the US and Ukraine, with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voicing solidarity with Zelensky. Analysts have begun to dissect the implications of this confrontation. Lesia Vasilenko, a Ukrainian parliament member, articulated a sentiment of dismay, stating, "We just witnessed a round of escalation. It's not diplomacy as in its classical form, it's rather a bullying show." Such comments underline the perception that the Oval Office exchange was less about negotiation and more about posturing. The rift has significant consequences for the proposed minerals deal, which had previously been touted as a potential economic lifeline for Ukraine. The agreement, which would have seen Ukraine share profits from its natural resources with the US, now appears to be in jeopardy after Trump's dismissive remarks. The US president's insistence that Zelensky should express more gratitude has further complicated prospects for any deal, with Trump suggesting that Ukraine may not be in a position to dictate terms without American backing. In the aftermath of the confrontation, former Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk captured the prevailing sentiment by stating, "I know for sure who is happy right now, war criminal Putin." This remark highlights the growing fears in Ukraine that the fallout from the meeting could embolden Russian aggression. As Zelensky prepares to meet with European leaders in London, the focus will shift to how Ukraine navigates this diplomatic impasse and what steps it can take to regain the support of its allies. With Trump continuing to redefine U.S. engagement in global affairs, the future of Ukraine's partnership with the U.S. remains uncertain, hinging on both domestic political dynamics and the evolving geopolitical landscape. The coming days will be crucial in determining whether Zelensky can secure a more favorable position for Ukraine and if the U.S. can reaffirm its commitment to supporting its ally in the face of ongoing aggression from Russia.